Hello, students. We will start with a new chapter, that is, chapter 13 of NCRT, Plant Growth and Development. And this will be a theory part 1. And here we will cover NCRT section 13.1 and 13.2. So, this is a disclaimer. So, these will be our learning objectives for today. So, we will start with the growth. What is growth? Definition of growth and important perspectives of the growth. Then, we will explain 3 phases of growth. What are the 3 phases of growth? We will explain them in detail one by one. Then we will move to the next topic, that is differentiation. Differentiation, de-differentiation and redifferentiation. We will discuss them in detail one by one. So this will be our learning objectives for today, and this is the index for today. So we will start with the growth. This will cover your NCRT section 13.1, and here we will see on what factors does plant growth generally affects. Like here we will see why plant growth is indeterminate, why we call plant growth indeterminate. Then we will move to the next section, which tells us about how we can measure growth. Then we will see phases of growth, growth rates and condition which are important for growth, and this will cover your subsections of 13.1. Then we will see what is differentiation, de-differentiation and redifferentiation, and this topic will cover your NCRT section 13.2. Then we will bind up the concepts with a summary, and to check if we understood the concept of this chapter, we will solve some NCRT based question, and then we will end up the session with keynotes and interesting questions. So let's start with the basic introduction of the chapter. Plant develop from single cell zygote into complex organisms. Unlike us, here we depends on many cells. We develop from many cells. Plant, unlike us, develop from a single cell zygote. What is zygote? Zygote is a fertilized egg. So unlike us, it developed from a single cell zygote, and here it is also written that all cells of the plant are descendants of the zygote. It means all the cells of the plant are made up from a single zygote, single cell zygote. Here zygote is single cell. Development of if we talk about development involves two main processes, that are growth and differentiation. We will look into each of these processes one by one. First, let's talk about the basic introduction of growth and differentiation. So growth follows an ordered sequence starting with the seed germination. What is growth? It follows it is a sequence of development. Here it starts with the seed germination. Basically, what happens? Growth develops from it starts with the seed germination till the plant matured fully. And seed germination, what is it? It is the process by which a seed develops into a new plant under favorable condition. So here it is written that seed germination is basically when a new plant develops from the seeds, or we can say from the spore. But here this is written that under favorable condition. It means that in favorable condition, germination will not take place. So this is the picture which is showing germination and seedling development in bean. Here we can see in the small in the first plant, here we can see the plant is inside the soil line. So you can see the plant here is inside the soil line because it is starting germination. Germination means a seed develop when a plant develop from the seed. Here it is partially in a seed form. So you can see cotyledon. Cotyledon, it required for the nourishment of the seed. Okay, so it develop into mature plants. And if you can see in the mature plant, there is no cotyledon because it get matured, and cotyledon is much needed for the development and nourishment of the seed. So during its growth phase, the plant required nourishment, so the plants get their nourishment from the cotyledon. So here we can see how epicotyle, hypocotyle it get developed in the mature plant. And in the mature plant we cannot see cotyledon because cotyledon is required for the nourishment of the seed. So it is present in the uh, primitive, or we can say in the prior steps, not in the mature plant. It is present in the prior plants, not the prior stages of the plant, not the mature plant. Let's start with a basic definition and introduction of the growth. So most fundamental and conspicuous characteristic of a living organism, a living being, is growth. So growth is an irreversible permanent increase in the size of a tissue and its parts or an individual cell. If we say about the prominent characteristic of individual, then we can say that growth is the prominent characteristic of the living organism. If something is living, then it will grow. So here it is also written that is a fundamental characteristic. It is a basic characteristic of living organism. And growth, what is growth? It is an irreversible change. It is an irreversible permanent increase in the size of an organ, its parts, or an individual cell. Here permanent increase takes place. Here and this step is irreversible. This thing is irreversible. It is an intrinsic process accompanied by metabolic activities. If we talk about metabolic activities, it means catabolic and anabolic at an expense of energy. So here we can see that it is a process which is accompanied by metabolic processes. And metabolic processes, what it mean by metabolic processes? It means catabolic and anabolic processes. Catabolic means breaking, and anabolic means making, but at the expense of energy consumption. So here this metabolic activities will consume energy. Growth involves both anabolic and catabolic uh, processes. I told you already what does mean by metabolic processes. It involves anabolic as well as catabolic process. These metabolic processes require and consume energy to function, that we have discussed already. So we have already talked about growth. What is growth? It is a prominent characteristic of living being. And it how we can see whether something is growing or not? Because the change is irreversible and there is a permanent increase in the size of organ, its parts, and individual cell. Let's move to the new section, subsection. Plant growth generally is indeterminate. Why they are calling plant growth is indeterminate? Let's talk about it. So plant growth is unique because they retain the capacity for unlimited growth throughout their life. So if we talk about plant growth, it has the capability to divide throughout their lifetime. And unlike us, because we have determinate growth, we grow till limited time period, but here plants growth is unlimited. Here growth type is indeterminate because of the presence of meristem. We don't have meristem, that why our growth is determinate, our growth is limited. But here, because meristem is present at certain parts, not everywhere meristem is present, but at certain part of the plant meristem is present. So that is why it can grow throughout the life cycle. So here it is written that unlimited growth is possible due to meristems located at specific parts of the plant. It is due to meristem that are located in the specific parts of the plant. Meristem cells can divide continuously and self-replicate. If we talk about meristematic cell, they have this ability to constantly divide and constantly replicate or multiply. Soon cells lose their ability to divide and form the permanent plant body. Soon after certain period of time, till they mature, till they attain maturity, they uh, lose their ability to divide and form the permanent plant body. Talking about primary and secondary growth. So the continuous addition of new cells by meristematic activity in plants is called as open growth. What is open growth? It is the continuous addition, because in the meristematic region cells continue to divide. So continuous division of the cells leads to addition of new cells, which is called as, this process collectively called as open growth. Okay, and we have two types of growth. Further, there are two types of growth. A plant can grow primarily or secondarily. Let's talk about each of them in details. So primary growth contributes to the elongation of the plant body. So what it does, the primary growth does the primary thing. And what is the primary thing? Elongation, length. It increases the length of the plant body, and also we can see it is characterized by the presence of apical meristem. Apical meristem is the important thing, that is important, that is prominent feature, that is prominent aspect, factor for increasing the length of the plant. So here we have two types of apical meristem: root apical meristem and shoot apical meristem. So root and shoot apical meristem are responsible for increasing the length of the plant, and primary growth is the growth that leads to the elongation, or it leads to increase in the length of the plant. Talking about the secondary growth, it increases the girth of the plant. It means what it does, it increases the width of the plant. It widens the width of the plant, done by lateral meristem. If we talk about meristematic tissues or meristematic cells, what kind of cells are involved in primary and secondary? In primary, we have apical meristem, but in secondary we have lateral meristem, which are vascular cambium or core cambium. And we can see that we already know that in dicots and gymnosperms, the lateral branches or lateral meristems formed by vascular cambium or cork cambium. So here we can see the secondary growth is the increase in the girth, and apical primary growth is increase in the length. So one increases, primary is all about length, secondary is all about width. And talking about the meristem, in primary apical meristem is present, in secondary meristem, lateral meristem is present. In this picture you can see, this is a diagrammatic representation of locations of root apical meristem and shoot apical meristem and vascular cambium. Here arrows exhibit the direction of growth of cells and organ. Here we can see there are certain arrows is given. So this tells the direction of the growth of the cells, particular cells, and the organ. And we can see here the position of the shoot apical meristem and root apical meristem. And here also we can see the structure of vascular cambium and overall root and shoot. So here we can see these direction is telling us about the growth of the cells and the organ. And here this diagram typically shows the primary locations of root and shoot apical and cambium, which is responsible for secondary growth. Now this is the section, this will cover section 13.1.2 of NCERT. So here it is written growth is measurable. In what aspects we can say the growth is measurable? So growth at cellular level means increase in protoplasm amount. If we talk biologically, like if we talk about morphologically, then we can say that it is a irreversible change on increase in length, size, organ size. Okay, but if we talk biologically, then what is growth? In what aspects we can say that the organism or the plant is growing? Due to protoplasm. If the protoplasm amount is increasing, then we can say that the plant or the specific organ or growth is cell is growing. So here it is also written that growth at cellular level means increase in protoplasm amount. if we can say that if we want to say that if a cell is growing, if we want to determine if a cell is growing or not in biological aspect, then we can say that if the protoplasm amount is increasing, then growth is taking place. So direct measurement of the protoplasm is difficult, so indirect parameters are used. Because direct we cannot measure protoplasm amount directly, there are certain parameters, there are certain quantitative tests that are used to measure uh, growth. So which include fresh weight, dry weight, length, area, volume, and cell number. We cannot use a particular parameter for the amount of protoplasm, because it is very difficult to extract only protoplasm, or only weight or measure the amount of protoplasm in a cell. So instead of directly extracting it and making it assure that whether this amount of protoplasm is there or not, we use very we use very we use different aspects or different parameters to we use different parameters or aspects to measure growth. So it includes fresh weight, dry weight. Fresh means it includes water, dry weight means without water. So sometimes fresh weight is not that accurate, that it doesn't give accurate results, so we move to we try dry weight. Then length, area, volume, cell number, like these are the different aspect or different parameters which we can use to measure growth. So there is no particular or there is no one aspect or one type of test that we can use to measure growth. So we talked about growth. What is growth? We talked about even maize and other things. Maize, in maize also we can see how small seeds get developed into a bigger seeds. In watermelon seeds also, we can see the watermelon seed increase their size up to 35,000 times. So these are all the aspects of growth. Like a small amount of seeds can change into bigger size. So this is one of the important topic. It phases of growth. So it covers 13 NCRT section 13.1.3 root zones. So we have different types of zones in the root. So starting with the root tip or meristem, it leads to this is a region for cell division. Here new root growth takes place. Here root cap protection uh, is there. So it root tip, talking about root tip, it is the first part, it is the first part, and it is present at the tip of the root. So what it does, what happens here, it is a region of cell division. Okay, it is a region of cell division. Here new root growth takes place because here cells are dividing continuously. So here new root growth takes place, and also here it is written root cap protection. What it does, it protects, root cap protects the tender tip of the root. So it acts as a protector also. It protects the tip of the root, or we can say tip of the apex of the root. So this is the first part, this is the first region of root. Here is, it is a picture. Here we can see different regions or different regions of root. First there is a root cap, then we can see area of cell division, or yeah, or we can say region of meristematic cell. Here meristematic cell continuously divide, that's why here it is written area of cell division. Then we have area of cell elongation. Here elongation takes place, not division, not any kind of thing, but elongation. Here cell elongate. Then area of cell differentiation or maturation. Here cell mature, cell do not further divide. Here cell mature and attain its maximum growth. And we can see around the area of around the region of differentiation, there are root hairs also. So this is the region of root, particular root. And we already talked about root tip or meristem, that it is a it is a region which is responsible for cell division. Here new root growth takes place, and here root cap protection is there, which means root cap protects the tender apex or tender tip of the root. So it has protective, it acts as a shield. Elongation zone. Let's talk about elongation. So I've already talked about it, that here only enlargement and root lengthening takes place. This is the region where no division takes place. Zone of division is meristem. Zone of meristem, meristematic cell is zone of division. There continuously or constant cell division takes place. Whereas if we talk about elongation zone, here cell enlargement and root lengthening takes place. So if we tell about the characteristic features of elongation zone, then we can say that it is the region of cell enlargement. Here cell enlarges and attain and also here root lengthening takes place. And next region above elongation zone, we have maturation zone. Here fully developed cells are there. So maturation, as the name suggests, like here the cells attain its attain its mature state. So here we can see fully developed cells. Root hair formation also takes place. In the picture also we can see that around the region of cell differentiation or around the region of maturation there are root hairs. So here it is written that root hair formation takes place around this region. And later lateral root development. Okay, so this is the region where lateral root development takes place. In the below region, like zone of meristem or zone of elongation, no any kind of root doesn't develop. But in this region, around region of elongation, because here cell attend its already attend its attend its mature state, that's why here lateral branches or lateral roots also develop. So we already talked about meristematic region. Here's constant cell division takes place, and this is a region where new cells keep adding on them. That's why there we can see this is the region which is responsible for the growth of the plant. It leads to growth of the plant. And talking about this elongation phase, in elongation, what happens? Cells just elongate. So division, this is the first zone. First, if we talk about region of the tips, in the tip, at the apex, we have root cap, which acts as a protective shield for the tender tip of the root. Then we have the region of meristem. Region of meristem, what meristematic cell do? So this region keep adding on new cells due to continuous division of the cells, and this is the region which is important or leads to growth of the plant. And we next have region of elongation. It is proximal to, it is the region which is just above to the meristematic zone. How we can characterize it? This particular zone is characterized by increased vacuolation, cell enlargement, and new cell wall deposition. So if we talk about this region, here in this region cell just elongates, no division, any kind of division doesn't take place, and also the cells are not in mature state. They just keep on elongating. So it is the region that is next to or proximal to meristematic zone. And how we can characterize this zone? It get characterized by increased vacuolation, cell enlargement. This is a prominent characteristic of this region, and new cell wall deposition. How cell elongate? Due to deposition or thickening of the cell walls. Because in this region, how cells elongate? They elongate by the deposition or thickening of their cell wall. So here we can see the detection of zones of elongation by the parallel line technique. Zone A, B, C and D immediately behind the apex have elongated part. So in this picture we can see that these parallel lines are showing this parallel lines is showing the elongated part of the first picture. Okay, so next is the region of maturation. It is more proximal to the phase of elongation. So next to region of elongation we have region of or phase of maturation. Okay, so cell here attain its maximum size. Here cell get matured, specialized, so it loses it already lose the ability to divide. Here cell division doesn't take place. Cell here attain their maximal size. So, and here cell walls thicken and protoplasm modifies. Because here maturation is taking place and mature cells are there, so here the cell walls are thickened and protoplasm modified. Because growth of protoplasm tells about growth, how much growth is taking place, and because this is the last phase, here the cell reaches or attain its maximum growth or attain its maximum maturity. So here the cell wall will be the thickest, and also protoplasm will be more. Talking about growth rate, it is an important topic for examination aspect. So this will cover 13.1.4 section of the NCRT. So increased growth per unit time is termed as growth rate. Up here we are talking about rate. What do you mean by rate? Rate means we are talking with respect to time. So here we can see how we can define growth. How much some organism or some plant is increasing per unit time is we can call that as collectively as growth. Okay, so this is a diagrammatic representation of A is arithmetic growth, B is geometric growth, and C is stages during embryo development, showing geometric and arithmetic phases. Here in first you can see arithmetic growth. In arithmetic growth what happens, just one daughter cell divide and other do not divide or or attain its mature state. So they don't divide, but one daughter cell particularly divide. And talking about geometric growth, here organisms grow in three phases. First phase is very slow because it is the initial phase, so growth is quite difficult. Then we have this exponential phase where the or where organisms keep growing due to presence of resources. Due to more resources, organisms grow and grow till it utilized the resources that are available. If it utilizes its resources, then it will attain the third phase, that is the phase of phase of non growth, or we can say stationary phase. Here growth doesn't take place. And if we talk about this graphically, then we can see a sigmoidal curve will be uh, plotted. So in sigmoidal curve we can see the first growth, the first phase or the first plot where there is less slope, or inclination is less, the slope is less inclined. It is the zone of it will be the lag phase. Then we have this slope which will lead to the increase or lead to the straight line. So it will be the zone of exponential growth, and then a straight line which will be the stationary phase or the third phase, where when the growth will be limited. And third one here is showing the stages during embryo development, showing geometric and arithmetic growth. The third picture or C picture is telling about both the phases. First three step, first one is how the zygote is dividing. Then geometric phase, in geometric phase all cell divide. And then the last phase, here we can see arithmetic phase. And here the cells, blue cells are the cells which are capable of division, and the light blue cells are the cells that lose the ability to divide. Let's talk about arithmetic growth briefly. So following mitosis, one daughter cell continues to divide while the other differentiates. If we talk about example, root elongating at constant rate. So mathematically also we can express this arithmetic growth by this formula, that is lt equals to l naught plus rt. Here lt is length at the time t, l naught is length at the time 0, and r equals to growth rate per unit per elongation per unit time. So mathematically if we talk about how we can define growth, we can say that lt, which is the length at time t, equals to l naught, that is the initial length, plus rt. Here r is growth rate per elongation per unit time. Now talking about this geometric growth, I have talked about it already, that it comprises of three phases, that is lag phase, that is the initial or slope growth phase. Then we have log or exponential phase. Here rapid growth within the cells takes place. Here cells divide continuously, and progeny cells maintain division ability during this phase. And then third we have stationary phase. Here growth slows down due to limited nutrients. So this is the third phase. Three phases, and it involve and collectively we can say this is a kind of geometric phase. In geometric phase we have geometric growth, we have three phases, that are lag phase, log phase, or exponential phase, and stationary phase. This is a divide of this is the graph that is given uh, of height of the plant versus time. Here we can see this plot, here we can see straight line which is showing geometric growth, how geometric growth takes place in three phases. Okay. So I have told you already that geometric growth, talking about this geometric growth, we can see that it show a sigmoidal pattern on or a S curve. Okay, the overall growth pattern when plotted against the time is S curve or sigmoidal curve. After the growth, after the initial slow growth, when we will be able to see exponential growth due to cell division, due to continuous growth, due to presence of ample of resources. And then this until the resources get limited, the growth will continue till it reaches stationary phase. So here it is written that sigmoid curve is a characteristic of living organism growing in natural environment. This is very important part. Like in which aspects we can say that this is a living organism, and that too is growing in natural habitat. So talking about natural habitat, if an organism is kept in a natural environment, a sigmoidal growth curve can be seen for that particular organism. So mathematically, like arithmetic growth, we can uh, define geometric growth. So it will be defined as w1 equals to w naught e raised to the power rt. Here w1 equals to final size, weight, height, number, etc. W naught will be equals to initial size at the beginning of the period, r will be equal to growth rate, t will be equals to time of the growth, and e will be equal to base of natural logs. Now talking about relative growth rate, here we have this new concept, that is relative growth rate. What does mean? It measures plants ability to produce new material. Okay, so it tells us about the it is a kind of efficiencies index. So finite size depends on the initial size. So it's just like growth rate, finite size depends on the initial size. So talking about this relative growth rate, it measures plants ability to produce new material. It typically tells about efficiency index, and mathematically geometric growth rate can be expressed as w1 equals to w naught e raised to the power rt. This is the graph, this is the sigmoidal curve that I was talking about between size or weight of the organ versus time. So here we can see three phases, that is lag phase, which is very slow, log phase or exponential phase, that is fast, or you can say rapid growth is here is taking place. Then so here the organ or the cells will achieve the third phase, that is stationary phase. Let's talk about absolute and relative growth rate. So quantitative comparison between growth of living systems, it is very important to quantitatively compare growth of the living organism. So we have two different terminologies for them, that is absolute growth rate and relative growth rate. Absolute tells about the measurement and comparison of total growth per unit time. So here it is important to remember that we are talking about here is measurement and comparison, and what we are comparing or measuring, total growth per unit time. So relative growth rate, what it is, growth per unit time expressed on common basis per unit initial parameter. Here it is written common basis. We are not taking here total growth per unit time, total growth, but here we can or not here we are measuring or comparing something, but here it is just expressed or just expressed on common basis. Common basis means per unit initial parameter. So let's see an example to understand these concepts. So in the figure below, two leaves A and B are drawn that are of different sizes but shows absolute increase in the area in the given time to give leaves A raised to the power 1 and B square. However, one of them shows much higher relative growth rate. Which one and why? So this is a diagrammatic comparison of absolute and relative growth rates. So both leaves A and B have increased their area by 5 centimeter square in a given time to produce A raised to power 1 and B raised to power 1 leaves. Let's see in the later slides what happened next. So relative growth rate, how we can define it? We can tell about it, we can measure it by final size minus initial size divided by initial size into 100. So we took them took the below in the below in the previous slide we have those we have those values for A and B. So for A it is 10 centimeter square minus 10 centimeter square was the final size, minus 5 centimeter square which was the initial size for A, divided by initial size which is 5 centimeter square into 100. So this is the formula of relative growth rate. So it will be equals to 100% for A. For B, let's measure the for B we have that we had that final size as 55 centimeter square minus 50 centimeter square which was initial size upon 50 centimeter square into 100, that will be equals to 10%. Though the absolute growth is same for both the leaves A and B, the relative growth rate of growth is relative growth rate of A is more because of its initial small size. So we can see here relative growth rate is more for A. Why? Although we had this absolute growth rate same for both the leaves for A and B, but relative growth rate is more for A, which we found as 100%. Why? Because of its initial small size. This initial small size of leaf A was 10 centimeter sorry 5 centimeters square, and due to this the although the absolute growth for both of them are same, but the relative growth is more for leaf A. So this is how we can measure relative growth rate. Conditions for growth. It will cover section 13.1.5. So plant cell grow through enlargement which needs water. Turgid cells help in extension growth, and plant growth depend on water status. Water provides medium for enzymatic activities. So we require different conditions for growth of plants. And plant, how they grow through enlargement, and primary thing that they need for transportation, for exchanges of gas, for exchange of gases, for everything is water. They require water. Okay, they require water for their growth. Turgid cells help in extension growth. How they extend? due to turgid cells. Okay, and it depends on plant status. Plants primarily depends on plant status, because most of the processes are dependent on water. For plants, water provides medium for enzymatic activities. As I have told you already, it is important for the transport of water, transport of gases, transport of nutrients. Okay, and also transport of enzymatic activities. That is why it needs, or it is primarily dependent on water. Talking about the second important thing is oxygen. Oxygen helps release metabolic energy for growth. So plant need nutrients for protoplasm synthesis and energy. Each plant has an optimal temperature range for growth. So we need to understand, we need to keep that in mind, keep our mind that oxygen release metabolic energy, and plants do need nutrients for protoplasm synthesis and energy. And also it require an optimum range of temperature. So deviation from the optimal range will affect the survival. Of course, if the temperature is very high for less heat tolerant plant, then it will lead to the damage. It will damage the plant or even death of the plant. Okay, environmental signals like light and gravity affects the growth status, and other signals like other environmental factors like light or gravity affects growth stages, further stages. But initial growth, if for initial growth we require oxygen and water are the primary important conditions that we optimum temperature. Oxygen, presence of oxygen is also important. And for plant we need water is the primary source or primary thing for which is important for transportation of the enzymes, gases, and nutrients. This is an important topic of this chapter, that is differentiation. So it is a process where cells derive from root apical and shoot apical meristems and cambium. So here cells where from where cells derive, they derive from meristematic tissues. Which meristem? Apical, root apical, and shoot apical meristem, and cambium. Cambium is required for the secondary growth. Okay, and apical meristems are required for the primary growth. So please remember this. So undergo structural changes in their cell wall and protoplasm to become mature and perform specific functions. So they undergo different structural changes. Changes include change in the composition or thickening of the cell wall, or composition of the protoplasm to become mature and perform specific functions. If we talk about example, then tracheary elements develop strong lignocellulosic secondary walls and lose their protoplasm to carry water. So here in this picture we can see, you can see sequence of the developmental process in the plant cell. Here you can see how dedifferentiation and redifferentiation is taking place. And we have to remember that differentiation, dedifferentiation are part of development, that we will talk about later in the chapter. So these are the primary aspects of development. Here we can see how differentiation, how expansion, how maturation, how mature cell gets senescence, to the stage of senescence or death. This is the sequence for overall development of the plant cell. Now dedifferentiation, as I've told you already, it is a second stage of development. Dedifferentiation, it is the process here differentiated living cells regain the capacity of cell division under certain condition. So the cells, differentiated cells regain, who already lose their, because they are differentiated, they lost their ability to divide. So here those differentiated cells regain the capacity of cell division. If we talk about example, so here it is written: formation of interfascicular cambium and cocambium from fully differentiated parenchyma cells. This is a major example of dedifferentiation. In this picture we can see dedifferentiation and redifferentiation. This is how internal signals leads to differentiation. Then this differentiated cell get de-differentiated. Here stem cell like state, which we can say the stem cell like state or transient phase. Then how redifferentiation or transdifferentiation takes place. Let's talk about transdifferentiation or redifferentiation in later on slides. So it is the process where de-differentiated cells lose their ability to divide and mature to perform specific functions. In de-differentiation, what was happening? Differentiated cells who already lost their ability to divide gain the ability to divide. But here, those de-differentiated cells lost their ability to divide and get specialized to and mature to perform specific functions. So if we talk about examples, then cells of the secondary xylem and phloem form from the de-differentiated cambium. We have already talked about this picture, which is telling about how differentiation, de-differentiation and redifferentiation takes place. Plant growth and differentiation patterns. So it is open because new cells keep on adding due to meristematic region, meaning it can be indeterminate or determinate. Okay, so plant differentiation is also open. Cell and tissue or tissues from the same meristem can have different structures at maturity, because cell gets specialized after certain time, after they divide, they after they get mature, after the division of the cells, if they when they get mature, they get specialized to perform specific functions. So the final mature cells of the structure of the cell or tissue is determined by its location. So this specialization is completely based on the location on which they are located. Okay, so if we talk about examples, cells away from the root apical meristem become root cap cells, while those pushed to the periphery mature as epidermis. So which cell get specialized to which type, which different which type of cell completely depends on the location where it is located. So this is the summary of the chapter. Let's rewind the whole chapter in the through this summary. So growth, we talked about growth. What is growth? It is a irreversible increase in size, volume or weight of the plant. It is a determinant in indeterminate in plants, because continuous growth takes place throughout the life, and it is measured by parameters like cell number, size and dry weight. And we also talked about the phases, which are very important part of the chapter. So we talked about meristematic phase, elongation phase or maturation phase. In meristematic phase, cells divide actively, example root or shoot apex. In elongation phase, cell elongate or enlarge due to vacuole formation or cell wall deposition. And we learned about maturation phase or zone of maturation. Here cell differentiate to perform specific functions. Later, we talked about differentiation, the process via which cells specialize to perform specific functions, and formation of tertiary elements with lignin deposition is an example of this. Then we talked about de-differentiation. Here, mature cells regain the ability to divide under specific conditions. Cortical cells differentiate to form cambium or secondary meristem is an example of de-differentiation. Then we talked about redifferentiation. Here de-differentiated cells lose dividing capacity or ability and mature again to perform new functions. Cork cambium forms cork cells or phellum on the outer side. So it's an example of redifferentiation. Now let's see if we understand, if we understood the concepts of the chapter by solving the NCERT based question. So this is the question. This is question number 1. So the question is, the process by which mature cells regain the capacity to divide under certain condition is called as. Okay, so we already talked about this. Let's see the answer. It's second stage of development, that is de-differentiation. Here differentiated cell who already lost their ability to divide again gains the ability to divide. So de-differentiation is the process where differentiated cells, example parenchyma cells, revert to meristematic activity to form callus tissue. So this is essential for wound healing and regeneration in plants, and differentiation leads to specialized cells, while redifferentiation forms new tissues from the de-differentiated cells. Now this is the second question. The question is, which of the following tissue is formed by the by redifferentiation? So options are apical meristem, cock cambium, callus, and root hairs. So you already talked about it. What is an example of redifferentiation? It's an cock cambium. Okay, so redifferentiation, and what happens here, it produces specialized tissues, example cock cambium, secondary xylem or phloem from dedifferentiated cells. Here callus is formed by dedifferentiation, while apical meristem and root hairs arise from primary growth. So you have to remember this. So these are the keynotes, or you can say interesting facts about this chapter, that growth is controlled by selective gene expression, plant callus formation or wound healing, salamandral limb regeneration is an example of dedifferentiation. Then abnormal dedifferentiation can lead to tumor formation, and totipotency is some plants can redifferentiate into cell type. So this is totipotency. Then we have some interesting question that you can look after to see if you already if you have understood this chapter or not. So first question is, how do parenchyma cells regain division capacity? That you can look after it. So you can try these questions by yourself and see if you understood this whole session or whole chapter of not or not. So thank you so much for listening.